Welcome to Dig Deep, the mining podcast. In this podcast, we go deep into mining news, hot topics, and live interviews with mining professionals and leading figures in the mining industry. Introducing your host, Rob Tyson, founder and director of Mining International and Mining International Executive, a leading global mining recruitment and headhunting agency.
Hi, mining community. Welcome back to another episode of the Dig Deep, the mining podcast. And today we have a returning guest who's actually been on 3 times previously. Eldur Olafsson, who's the founder and CEO of Amaroq Minerals, a Greenland-focused mining company engaged in the identification, acquisition, exploration and development of gold properties and other strategic minerals assets in Greenland. They recently had done their first pour of gold, which is a significant milestone in the company's development, which obviously Eldur will explain shortly. Eldur's a geologist by background and has worked in Greenland and Iceland for well over a decade, and started Amaroq Minerals back in 2017. So certainly, obviously, he's come a long way since then. He's going to give us an update, obviously, since making that first gold pour. Some of the exploration that they've been involved in, and obviously some of the results that they've achieved, and what his recent thoughts are on made by Donald Trump about taking control of Greenland, and obviously a lot more. Before we start the podcast, I just want to give a shout out to our sponsors, Hawcroft, who are the leaders in property risk management in the mining industry since 1992. They offer insurance risk surveys, construction risk reviews, and asset critical assessments, and obviously a lot more. They work with over 600 sites globally, and they support mining companies in operations, processing, smelting, refining, power, ports and rail operations. So if you're looking for some property and insurance risk management services, then obviously visit their website, which is at www.hawcroft.com, and all the details are in the show notes. So, Eldur, welcome to the podcast again. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you, and thanks for having me again.
Yeah, as I mentioned, it's the full time on. So anyone that's listening, please go back to those episodes. I think he's been on every year, 2021, 2022, and 2023. I think we missed out last year. So for those that may have not listened to those previous episodes and may not know you, although I think it's quite a few of our audience will know you. I just wonder if you just tell us a little bit about yourself and about your career before we speak about what's been happening more recently.
Yeah, certainly. And again, thanks for having me, and Happy New Year and all the rest of it. So my background is I'm Icelandic. I have a family of 3 daughters and a wife here in Iceland. Spend most of my time here in Iceland, in our markets in London, Canada, and obviously mostly in Greenland, where all of our operations are. I come to the mining industry, or started in the mining industry around 2012. Where I started analyzing Greenland, but I have been in sectors such as oil and gas from 2012 to 2016. And then before that, I was in the geothermal energy industry. Developing geothermal energy to power houses, heat up houses, or power anything, create energy. So that has been my kind of a background. And this is my 3rd company I found and have been involved in. With the view to develop the resources in Greenland and associated industries.
I wonder if you can just give us a snapshot of Amaroq Minerals before we dig deep into a little bit more about the company and what you've been doing.
Yeah, certainly. Amaroq is the largest private investor currently in Greenland. We are the most active developer, now a producer and an explorer. We have 4 businesses. We have gold business, where we have developed the Nalala gold mine, and that is, to your point earlier, is in production, and it's in commissioning phase at the moment. We then have advanced gold exploration project in Nanoq, which we had a great discovery this year. And then we have also drilled Vagar. So this all sits within a gold belt where we believe that you can develop world-class deposits in gold, and we believe that there has a vast potential within the next 5 to 10 years to build up production of the range of 150 to 300,000 ounces within that belt minimum. That obviously is subject to exploration results and so on, but so far they have been very, very good. We then have a strategic mineral business, which we own 51% of. Our other shareholder in that strategic mineral business, who actually brought the funding in, or about 30 million Canadian dollar, is a group called ACAM, which is funded by the private arm of More Capital, JCAM, and a few other investors. Within that portfolio, we have developed a district-scale copper belt, a porphyry copper belt, where we found evidence of skarn, porphyry, and epithermal in a unique setup. We then have a known, we want to call it Voisey Bay analogy, meaning nickel, copper, cobalt, which we have been drilling. And then obviously we sit in the heart of South Greenland with all of our licenses, where you have all of the major rare earth and uranium deposits that the world so desperately needs. All of that sits within around our licenses. So that is our second business. Number three, we have a servicing business, because it takes a lot of effort to be able to develop a mine, and we drill 5 different greenfield location every year. So we have 7 drill rigs, we have mining equipment, we have surface equipment, and we have maritime equipment to be able to move things around. So that is all to lower cost and make sure we execute. And last but not least, we then are developing our first small-scale hydropower to power our mine in Nalunaq. And that is a 1 megawatt hydropower plant, where we leverage all of the investment that has been made in Nalunaq in terms of roads, in terms of environmental impact assessment, social impact assessment, et cetera, to lower our power cost, but more importantly, lower our carbon footprint. And last but not least, give a longer life to the site in Nalunaq, which can serve the community and other industry after the mine has been closed down, which hopefully doesn't happen in the next 30, 40 years. So this is maybe not a snapshot, but it gives you an idea of the overall business of Nalunaq. And today we are listed in 3 markets, so London, Iceland, and in Canada. And we have a market cap about a little bit more than 400 million sterling in London, to your readers. So we are well traded, long only shareholders, and have managed to build up a backing to our story, which is very important to any mining company. So it means that we are starting to become effectively a proxy for Greenland. So if you want to acquire Greenland, then you're quite well suited to own Amaroq.
Obviously, as I mentioned in the introduction, you've recently announced, obviously, first gold pour. Why don't you just talk us through, obviously, this milestone and what it means for Amaroq and the next steps you are looking to achieve?
Yeah, certainly. I mean, to get there to build a mine, so we started effectively building the mine this time last year. Well, we obviously started a little bit earlier, around summer 23, yes. Overall, it obviously takes a huge amount of effort. You have to take a lot of risk before you can actually get to the decision of starting the mine. Also, what is interesting with this mine, because this was a past producing mine, so a lot of the infrastructure was already there. And therefore, with a relatively small resource, so 320,000 ounces, 7-year mine life roughly, we could actually fund about $100 million to build a new processing plant and start the development of mining. And we did that all in 1 year. And while we were doing that over 1 year, we were dealing with the biggest ice year or coldest year in South Greenland over 50 years. We're dealing with various different weather-related issues in terms of flying people in and out, but still managed to get to the point of producing first gold, which we were extremely proud and mainly proud of our team there. And this is very hard. It's very difficult in a place like Greenland. There are logistical challenges. There are servicing challenges. There are various things that can go wrong. But thanks to the fact that we have managed to build within the organization of Amaroq effectively a team who knows how to operate in Greenland, then we've managed to be successful. And so over 10 years, we built that up, and there are not, well, I want to say there's no other company in Greenland in mining that has that at the moment. Effectively, a full geological team and a mine that can be built. To put this into perspective, Rob, we are, I think, the only mine that was built and operated this year in the Arctic. Right? There are others being built, but no one who kind of started and built it. So there are few mines being built. There are few people who know this. Obviously, looking back, we could have done things, this thing was a wrong decision or that, but overall, 80% of our decision were right. But the point that I'm trying to make, you learn by doing in a lot of these places, and you get more confident when you're doing it. So, and therefore, your decision making for the next mine and the next things becomes better and better. The same applies with exploration program. Our exploration team, I want to say, is one of the, if not the strongest one in Europe now. We've been building up knowledge base with our not so young geologists any longer. They used to be young, where most of that talent has disappeared from the industry. So imagine we were drilling greenfield exploration, 5 different locations in Greenland. So just knowing the logistics of that, moving rigs in place, taking them out, everything has been helicopter based. Doing the job, getting it on time, on budget, how you do it. Obviously, the whole background of analyzing geology, how to do things, all of these different things. This is starting to be more and more rare because there has been less and less investment in this industry. And I want to say, I think we are the most active greenfield explorer in all of Europe today. So that is another milestone. Again, we are always learning every year. Always taking a step ahead rather than a step backwards, but there are always something that we like to do better and better. So that is also a skill set that we are building within the team, which is very unique. So that brought us to the kind of a first goal. Now this year is commissioning. So you're setting the plant up, you're getting all of these things working properly. You making sure the flow of the water goes correctly, and you're making sure the belts are correctly screwed on, and all of these things. So that takes a little bit of time, but it's progressing well on site as we speak. And we'll work our way up into a full-scale nameplate capacity by the end of this year, and throughout a flotation phase where we're getting a recovery of about above 90%, which is our target.
You also obviously announced some exciting exploration results, obviously across your wider gold and strategic metals and minerals portfolio. Just wondering what your next plans are around your exploration.
Yeah, so we will give obviously a fairly good overview of all of that maybe towards the end of this quarter, where we kind of set things up. But I can safely say that Nanoq was a great success last year, right? Nanoq is like so many things in Greenland, is a deposit that comes to surface. Was known when we acquired it that it was gold, so something that just you literally see gold on surface. And then effectively, with a more and more ice melt, that exposure just became larger and larger and larger. It now sits somewhere between 800 meters to a kilometer. We then started understanding the thickness of this, and we started seeing that this deposit is folding. I don't want to get too technical, but that means that it's coming again and again to the surface. And to test these theories, we had done geophysics, and now we drilled the first 2 holes. And the geological model works; it's spot on. So it's really exciting. We think this could be an absolute beast in terms of scale and in terms of size. So to test that theory, we are going to be moving in this summer 3 to 6 rigs to drill the deposit systematically, with the view to, ideally, if we are successful, to have a maiden resource on it. The drill core will tell us if that's going to be successful or not, but we feel quite confident on that and excited about the prospect there, especially in relation to the fact that this veining seems to be coming back in and again. So you have this potential to do this open pit scenario, or you can also obviously do an underground scenario if it's not folding as much as we believe it can be doing.
You also obviously completed a fundraise in December, which you did just cover earlier. Obviously, alongside securing $35 million revolving credit facility. What do you plan to use the funds for?
Yeah, so the use of proceeds are the following. So one, we wanted number one, we wanted to have enough fund to drill out Nanoq because we got extremely excited by the results. And by the way, we've yet to have a lot of results from copper, nickel, and all of the rest of it. So that hasn't been in the market. These were our first results. So that was number one. And so we now funded to do that, to kind of because with Nanoq as well, once we drill it and if we do a bulk sample, we can move material from Nanoq to Nalunaq for processing there. So it's very valuable ounces that you're drilling for when you're in that gold belt. And that speaks into my, or not mine, the Amaroq strategy of building a gold camp in that gold belt of, I say 150 to 300,000 ounces. The reason why I say that, each of this place like Nalunaq could be a 50 to 100,000 ounce producer. So you start building up collection of these things over time, which is very unique in the world today. And it's also unique in the Western world today to be allowed to drill, literally, right? So they're very open to that. So that is kind of the key element of how we see that happening.
As the world increasingly focuses on obviously ESG concerns, how does Amaroq ensure that its obviously operations in Greenland are sustainable? And then are there any specific innovations or partnerships that you're pursuing to minimize the environmental impact of mining, such obviously a sensitive ecosystem?
Yeah, I mean, it's a good question following that. I mean, it goes, maybe I didn't finish all on user process. So if I just, the second thing on user process is actually relates to that. It's actually services. And then it's hydroelectric energy. And you might ask yourself, well, hang on a minute, aren't you supposed to be a gold company or a gold exploration or strategic management? Are you losing focus? But what we have to understand in Greenland is that the reason why cost often is higher in Greenland is because you have to move in all of this equipment, and often you need to move it back out the same year, or at least the service provider want to do that. That means sometimes the risk for the service provider that they need to leave it behind, so they want a very high fee for the drilling rate. So there are ways where you can lower costs by having a longer horizon on your operation in Greenland. This is why Nalunaq is so important. And this is why we are setting up the service company to effectively create a dry leasing of equipment, allowing any operator or miner to use our rigs, rent our rigs, because we are there with an operation over a longer time. And therefore you need maritime equipment to bring that equipment inside, etc., etc. And then you can operate also with the local communities. On hydroelectric, how we see that is that we are running everything on diesel at the moment. This is very costly for us. We both have to move it in, store it, use it, whereas you have enormous potential in small-scale hydropower. I mean, you can think about it. There's a massive battery there with rivers coming every valley down the stream, and we can very easily set up these small-scale hydroelectric, especially within the operation we are operating, because we already have an EA and SAA that we can leverage up to build these things. Once you then start developing more of those, and then you ideally want to use only hydroelectric, what then start happening within the valley we are working on, we then start tree planting, we then start moving in, we're, for example, planning to move in, there's been already muscos moving, other animals like reindeers, etc., etc. So you start creating this national park thing, and you do that together with the community because you have the hunting association, you have the agricultural school in South Greenland, which is doing the tree planting. So we try to set ourselves both on the social side and on the environmental side alongside it. Because I'm not gonna, not to make any too bold statement, we are obviously getting the land, borrowing the land, and we want to kind of be able to leave the land using this good cash flow from mining industry to develop something more. And this in a way is something where you see a lot more miners are starting to do. We started with this strategy rather early in our career, and a lot of people were kind of humming and hawing, but I think a lot of people are now understanding why you need to do that, because in the end, ESG or not, it just makes business sense. If you build something up that is beautiful and good and has a long-lasting impact on Greenland society, it's more likely we are able to open up the next mine with the same methodology. So that is the approach we are trying to take.
Donald Trump recently commented about obviously Greenland and has cast a spotlight on strategic resource potential of the country. How significant is Greenland's mineral resources and where does Amaroq fit within the bigger picture?
So first and foremost, Greenland is massive. It's the biggest island in the world. There are already world-class deposits in various different deposits. where people have had concerns is like, how do you execute? How do you build things? And there's one thing that helps you build things. You need people to do it. You need to be able to logistically do it, and you need to have the know-how. But most importantly, you need to have money to do that, right? And so when Greenland is in most of the area where you have the big resources, is more easily accessible than Alaska or Russia, even though you have these massive mines in these locations, right? Red Dog in Alaska or Nordic Nickel in, like, you have even Voices Bay in Canada. You have 2 or 3 month shipping windows there. I mean, that doesn't even apply in Greenland. So what you need there is support. And I think when countries are understanding that support needs to come through funding one way or another, therefore I do believe the government or the Trump government is obviously looking towards the fact that China has cornered the electric market in one way or another. They want to push themselves into it. They have security interest in Greenland. This is a buffer zone to US, meaning Greenland, and they are operating army bases in Greenland. And therefore it has, from a national security and from raw material, this is quite important to them. They also don't have many icebreakers. There's a new shipping route opening up on the kind of between US and Canada. There's another shipping route on Russia. So China has God knows how many icebreakers, Russia as well. So this has an impact. But Denmark sits in this. They're obviously on the mainland. They have been contributed to capital into Greenland in infrastructure build. They contribute about $700 million into the society of 50,000 people, and that has been very, very important. So I think a good thing for Greenland in a way that people are showing more and more interest, and it little highlights why we have been there for such a long time. But then I'm not going to comment on the politics other than the fact I hope that the Greenlanders themselves will get the best out of this, no matter how that happens. To explain that a little bit, Iceland used to be under Denmark until 1944. We then came under US protection during the Second World War. First, you guys, Churchill came, luckily, and then US came. That gave us the opportunity to go independent. But we came independent because US started pouring money into Iceland to run the army there. All the way up until 2000, US Army was one of the great contributors of the GDP of Iceland. It is the same in Greenland to date, right? So that is important, and there are various different ways that this can play out. But again, I would always argue that if the Greenlanders they need to get the best thing out of it, whatever they want to do. But I certainly think it's positive that it puts a spotlight on an as important country. Mind you, I started in 2012 because I believed not necessarily that something like this would happen, but I believed that this would be important to the world, simply based on the fact that the world has been explored for 200 years, and you only have places like Greenland and a few others left, and then maybe the ocean floor, which is going to be horribly expensive and difficult to operate. We feel, and when Trump last time came and said, I want to own Greenland, we said to ourselves, we need to be successful as operators. We need to show the world that you can build mines, operate with the communities. You have to be able to do things the right way. You need to build a fundraise, you need to keep timelines and all the rest of it. And it's not easy, by the way, but we managed. We then said there needs to be more industry to support what we're doing because they don't exist in Greenland, right? And by doing that and by being listed on 3 markets, we feel that we are the proxy to Greenland, meaning we have the very strong investor base, including Sovereign Fund of Greenland, Sovereign Fund of Denmark, the largest pension funds in Iceland, Denmark, large US funds as well. So all of this has been set up with the aim to become a proxy to Greenland, right? And so say you like a project in Greenland, right? So you like a specific project, and someone said, I want to put in $300 million in building something there. Who is going to do it for you? Is it a 2-man team that is trying to say, we have all of these things in here? Or is it someone who is actually set up and finalized environmental impact assessment, social impact assessment, monitor their operation, done everything as correct as possible in terms of the people that, et cetera, and it speaks back to operatorship. That's always been our focus, operatorship and owning the best real estate and develop it in a more sustainable fashion.
And lastly, what's the outlook for the company over the course of 2025? And is there anything else that you'd like to add and share with our audience?
It's growth. Now we're going to grow cash flow, we're going to grow production, and we're going to grow massively in terms of developing and finding our first world-class deposit. That is our aim. We can't promise every single drilling program will be successful in that, but that is name of exploration. So we are drilling 5, 6, 7 different locations every year to find that world-class deposit, because it's more likely that does exist in such a mineral-rich country in Greenland than in the rest of the world. And it goes back to that oil model, that the oil industry is much better at this than the mining. They run a balanced portfolio where they replace the reserve, not just next to the mine, but they go out there and they explore and they explore and they explore. They use part of the cash flow there. It's similar to farmers. They turn their field. They don't always know the yield, but they have to turn it. Otherwise, there will be no yield. And I think this is what we are trying to kind of build into our strategy, which is different to most companies out there.
Eldur, appreciate your time again for coming on, sharing your story. And obviously, probably when we started speaking 3 years ago, we've now got to the stage that you've obviously done your first gold pour. So obviously, congratulations on that. And sharing your journey and the company's journey, and obviously wish you well for 2025 and beyond. If our audience wants to reach out to you, follow the story, get any updates from you, how can they go about doing that? What social media platform channels are you on?
So we are on most of the. LinkedIn is a big one for us, and Twitter as well. So we are active on those. We are working with GeForce Media, which are quite brilliant in doing these videos where we try to explain what we're trying to do, which is often quite difficult in this mining world. So to have a look at that, we find we're getting very good reaction on that. And thanks, Rob, for having me. When I'm looking at my picture in the screen, I can see I have a lot more wrinkles and a lot more tired. So you can see what the mining industry can do to you.
Certainly. But that's all the hard work paying off. And obviously, it's been a success in what you've set out to do. And like I said, wish you well for the rest of the year. So well done.
Thank you, Rob. Thank you.
No worries. Thank you for listening. I hope you enjoyed the episode. As always, please keep sharing these episodes far and wide. And obviously, what a success story that Eldur and Amaroq Minerals have gone through since we first done a podcast, I think back in 2021. So I encourage you to go back and listen to some of those episodes and look how far the company and Eldur has come from obviously 2021. So please keep sharing these episodes. Thank you for support. And until next time, happy mining.
Thank you for listening. Remember to reach out to Rob via the show notes and be sure to subscribe and leave a review. Until next time, happy mining, helping each other to improve the mining industry.